Hi folks, we're here to discuss the Traumatic Illness Survival Guide, how to navigate chronic illness and move towards post-traumatic transformational growth, or PTTG.
Yeah, folks, that was me.
This is Linda, I'm Ron, pleasure to meet you. Here we go. So the Surviving Traumatic Illness Field Guide is for
Patients who want to be heard, understood, and empowered.
and give them the tools to help them survive the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the financial hardships of traumatic illness.
The Surviving Traumatic Illness Field Guide is also for medical professionals who need to understand their patient's experience, and also to gain tools to maximize patient outcomes and to help their patients survive the traumas of long-term illness.
The guide is also for mental health professionals who want to understand the complexities of their patient's trauma, identify skills and techniques that can support the patient's survival, and create opportunities for post-traumatic transformational growth.
And it is also for caregivers, because every person who has a chronic illness or transplant or anything that they go through, there's somebody taking care of them, and they need to be taken care of. They need to understand the challenges that they're going to be involved in.
And prepare for that long road ahead. It's also for organ transplant organizations who want to provide support to donor families and sign up more people as donors. And for medical companies who are seeking patient experts to speak about the products and services that saved Linda's life and provide organ transplants that cure hepatitis C, that overcome organ transplant rejection. Medical technology is just amazing. So we're going to talk about the 3 keys to surviving traumatic illness.
1, advocate. Advocate. You need to be an advocate for yourself, and you should also have a partner or a case manager, someone who can handle negotiating and navigating the healthcare system. It's not easy out there.
2nd is get help, and we'll talk about all the different ways that people need help and what you can do to really simplify and streamline and make this a process that you can handle, because it's overwhelming. And 3rd, how to keep track. I'm a system scientist, and one of the things I figured out pretty quickly was that it was really, really complex, all the different things that were going on, and how to keep track of everything was just really a chore. All right, so Linda's journey.
Okay, 1978, I gave birth to my first child, Lisa. Everything was fine. She was a nice, big, fat, normal baby, no problems, except I had retained my placenta a little bit, and I needed emergency transfusions, 2 units exactly. Please note the blood supply testing did not start until 1979, a year after Lisa was born. 1989, my second child, Aaron, my beautiful blue-eyed blonde-haired boy, was born. 1993, my third child, my wild raven-haired Rebecca. And then in 1996, my 4th and last child, baby Josh. He was perfectly fine, another big fat baby. But I was having some blood work abnormalities, and they soon diagnosed me with hepatitis C. So I went on living my life. You know, hepatitis C is a disease that you can live with for like 30 years and doesn't have much impact until late in its progression. So I lived my life, had my career. I was married, I got a divorce. And in 2000, I met Ron. And we got married. And here is a picture of our bridal party, all 7 kids.
All right, so hepatitis C. So one of the incredible things is that the 3 kids that were born in the 18 years after the blood transfusion that gave Linda hepatitis C, all 3 of them, none of the kids had the virus. So even though these kids had the bloodstream was already contaminated, and even though Linda breastfed every one of them, none of them got the virus. Now, hepatitis actually has 5 different types of viruses. Specifically today, we're talking about hepatitis C, which is blood-to-blood primarily contamination. It's a nasty little bug. It's been really well researched and documented now, what it looks like and how it works. And believe it or not, it's responsible for 500,000 deaths a year across the globe. 150 million people have it worldwide. And in the United States, 4 million Americans have it, and most of them don't even know that they have it because, as Linda said, it's slowly a very insidious disease that you never even know that it's happening. 3 million baby boomers, more than 75% of adults who have hepatitis C are baby boomers. That's a really fascinating statistic. So why? Why are so many baby boomers having hepatitis C?
And it's not because we hung out at Woodstock.
So the false belief is that it was drug use, right? They were doing intravenous drugs, et cetera, et cetera. And that's the main reason for baby boomers contracting hepatitis C. And that misunderstanding and that stigma can mislead people so that they don't even think about getting tested. I didn't use IV. Why should I go get tested for hepatitis C? I never got exposed. Why should I have it? Well, actually, they did a study, right, trying to figure out why are so many baby boomers, why do they have hepatitis C? And what they found out was the reason why baby boomers are at higher risk is because when we were kids, when we were younger, there were unsafe medical procedures where doctors would use the same needles and instruments on multiple patients without sterilizing them. And there was no blood protocol or screening methods, as Linda said, until 1979. So every baby boomer should get tested. Hepatitis C causes more deaths than HIV and AIDS. It's the leading cause of liver cancer and liver transplants. And clearly it's something that any baby boomer and all our families should pay attention to and go out and get tested, folks.
Okay, so before I had my transplant, I had 3 separate treatments. 2001, my first hepatitis C treatment was interferon and ribavirin. Ribavirin is an antiviral. Here's a listing of the side effects of both of these medications. And you'll notice that I checked off most of the boxes because I had most of them. The most brutal of these is what we who've had it call brain fog. And this graphic really demonstrates it very well. You literally feel like you are crawling through peanut butter. It's a brutal side effect, and it really affects your life. Other major side effects that I had and other people who go through this experience have: anemia, chronic low red blood cells, fatigue, exhaustion, hair loss, low white blood cells, low platelets, loss of concentration and memory, depression.
So 9 months of treatment, right? Virus is undetectable. Basically, it looks like it's on the run. She's got it down, etc. She's going through this stuff. But meanwhile, her thyroid was destroyed. So she had no energy, totally starting to be unable to function.
I was white as a sheet, literally.
Yeah, and so they stopped the treatment, right? So 9 months goes by. We go through all this treatment, and 6 months later, the virus comes back. Fast forward through 2004. At this point now, Linda's having endoscopies. They go down her throat, and they go down and they take all the varices that are starting to, from the pressure building up from not being able to flow through the liver. Every 6 months they go down. Now they become every 3 months. They go down, and not only do they do an endoscopy, but they do banding, rubber bands. They put them on all the esophageal varices.
Luckily, they knock you out for this.
It's a good thing, but still it was pretty incredible. So June 2004, they come up with the diagnosis: chronic hep C, partial fibrosis, which is getting towards liver failure, but not quite there yet, piecemeal necrosis, where parts of the liver are dying, and chronic inflammatory cells. 2004 and 5, pressure keeps building, and now she's got a splenic artery. So basically what's happening there is there's a bubble.
Aneurysm.
Yep, an aneurysm, right? It's a splenic artery aneurysm. Sorry, thank you. So her cells, basically, there's a blood cell that's about to pop, blood vessel that's about to pop. They do 4 different operations trying to shut it down. Finally, the 4th one is successful, but that was just a little piece along the way. And then
in 2007, treatment number 2. This time it was with the same drugs again, but they had a new fangled interferon out called Pegasus, like the horse. Same old ribavirin. However, this time my thyroid was already destroyed, so that wasn't an issue. I was already on levothyroxine, which managed everything on that level. I was on Procrit, which is the same thing that they give to cancer patients to increase my red blood cell count. And I asked for antidepressants this time. It's like, you got to give me something. This is hard enough. And I made sure I was in counseling.
Still, she's got fatigue, hair loss, low white and red blood cells, low platelets, loss of concentration and memory. This time, 2 years. 2 years she's on this medication. She's still working, pretty incredible. 2007 to 2009, she's working through it, struggling through it, but dealing with it. Virus is undetectable, and 6 months later,
it came back again.
Fast forward 2012, third
Third
treatment.
treatment. This time they had a brand new part of this cocktail. It was in Pegasus interferon, ribavirin, and telepravir, which is a protease inhibitor. Extremely toxic. And when I say toxic, I'm not. It's beyond toxic. The doctor actually said to me, "This new treatment's going to hit you like a freight train," and he wasn't kidding. Not at all.
So what was supposed to happen, it was supposed to knock it down for 3 months, that she was going to be on this triple cocktail. Then she'll be back on the other double cocktail for 9 months was the plan. 2012, she starts the treatment. First month, sepsis. She's in the hospital for 8 days. Barely survives, comes out, she's good. Second month, November, goes in for pneumonia, comes out. Goes in for peritonitis, comes out. Goes in for gastritis, survives, and comes out. Not long after that, we're in the hospital again. This time they diagnose it. Basically, look, the treatments are putting you into liver failure. You got to stop the treatment. And so that was it. That treatment was done. At this point, Linda's on oxygen, can't walk. She's being wheeled around. It was a really, really incredibly tough time. But luckily, they talk about liver transplants.
We were
So first,
So
first, you go on the liver transplant list.
You go
They
on
say
the
you
liver
need a liver
transplant
transplant,
list, yes.
right? So they go and put you on a liver transplant list. And on the liver transplant list, what it is something called MELD, the Model for End-Stage Liver Disease. And what they do is they rank your various different scores, and they tell you how bad you are.
It's from like 0 to 40.
0 to 40, and when you get closer to 40, that's when you die. And those are the people who always get treated first because they're just about to die, right? They have all these things going on. But Linda's scores, even though she's got all these diseases, all this stuff going on, it was never really high. Matter of fact, in 2013, the score was only 11.
And then in July, it went down to 8.
So, in one way, the score is saying she's doing good. Meanwhile, she's still battling all these different things. We're going in for emergency hospitalizations every other week with something else going on.
How many?
Sepsis,
30?
pneumonias, over 30 different hospitalizations. So
It was a lot.
yeah, but luckily we had a referral into the New York Presbyterian Transplant Center at Columbia as well. And this doctor basically says, look, you can wait for a liver transplant, but if you do that for waiting for somebody to die, the chances are one of these diseases are going to get you first. So there's another option. And, I'm a pretty bright guy, got undergraduate, graduate work, and I never heard that you could actually give somebody half your liver and both parts grow back.
In 3 months.
In 3 months. It's the only renewable organ. It's an incredible thing. So most people think of organ transplants and donate a kidney. You got 2 kidneys, you give away 1. Okay. But with a live liver transplant, you give somebody half your liver and both parts grow back. It's really incredible. But here's a really funny part.
My oldest daughter quickly volunteered to be my donor.
The one it all started with.
Yeah, the one that it all started with. However, she didn't have the right kind of blood type.
She had the biological father's blood type. Blood type was incompatible. So you women, you can have a kid inside you, raise that little kid, little cells grow, cells come, kid pops out, and the kid can't give you anything back. Now, talk about injustice, right? Gosh, what a crazy world, right? So unfortunately, that was the case. But the good news was I was a match. So thankfully.
So on August 8th, we both rolled into our different surgical suites at Columbia Presbyterian Hospital, and he gave me half of his liver.
And 3 months later, it grew back. So not only, here's the funny part to me. So not only is it like having your cake and eating it too, right? Because you give someone half your liver and it grows back. So it's like, hey, I didn't even give you anything. It's great. I go back. But now, even better, in giving, you receive, because now half my liver's brand new. So I could drink like a 20-year-old again, right? If I wanted to. Great thing I don't, but but I could. So happy 2013, we get home, we think we made it, our friends are there, our families are there, we're doing great, we're thinking that we're over it, we're doing well, and
then there were a few bumps in the road. First thing, I had the transplant in August. December, there apparently was some issues with my bile duct. It hadn't gotten resection. It needed to be resectioned. So I had to go in again for major abdominal surgery, and that kind of set me back like another 3 months again. Then I had, due to all the cortisone, I had really bad cataracts. I had to get those taken care of. And then the following year, the massive injections of cortisone that they give you caused my hips to become completely necrotic. So I needed 2 hip replacements. And then the final, and hopefully last, bump in the road was when I had an arterial bleed in my stomach, a GI bleed, where I lost essentially all of my blood, and I needed 20 units.
So anybody know how many units it takes of blood? How many units the body holds? Yeah, it's about 10, right? So Linda basically got flushed twice. Flushed her right through.
Not something I recommend.
Really kind of scary thing, right? So meanwhile, get through all this. 2014, the bug is still in her system, right? So now the bug starts eating the new liver, right? Now it's scary as hell, but luckily
and it tends to infect it a little faster because I'm on immune suppressants, which I'll be on for the rest of my life. So there was concern.
But luckily, the good thing was they come out, medical technology, amazing.
Real breakthrough.
Real
Finally.
breakthrough. And basically, they come out with this new treatment just as this is all starting, just as they're all getting worried that it's going to eat the new liver. They come out with this new treatment, and 2 months, minimal
side effects. I don't remember even really any side effects, especially compared to the interferon. It was awesome. 2 months, I was cured.
And that was it, man.
And many of you will probably see the advertisement for the drug that this eventually became, Harvoni, on TV.
See it works. On TV now. It's great. It's awesome. It's incredible. So, really, a happy ending.
Finally. And then in this past year, in December, I had my blood work, as I usually do, and my hemoglobin was 13.2, which is awesome. And my nurse practitioner said, your blood work is perfect. I haven't heard that in a long time.
It's great. All right. So what did we learn, right? And that's what we're here to share. So 30 different hospitalizations, emergency basis, right? We got sepsis, pneumonia, peritonitis, gastritis, colitis, C. diff, aneurysms, wash, rinse, repeat every week, every month, not knowing what we're doing, where we're going, just constantly on eggshells. So what did we learn? Well, mental health-wise,
mental health should not be ignored in these kind of situations. It has a major, major impact on the individual who's experiencing it. It can be crushing, as well as for the entire family. How I like to describe what happens to you, we spend our life in a state of homeostasis, meaning we're in balance. Everything in our body, man, it's an amazing feat that our bodies do. We stay in homeostasis. When we're not in homeostasis, when something is going wrong, we fall out of balance. And when one thing falls out of balance, everything starts to fall out of balance. And in my case, that was my poor, sick little liver. It was shot. And then you have total system failure.
One of the things I never found out until we were in this, that the liver controls over 100 different bodily functions. So it's everything from your breathing and your brain functions, as well as acting as a sieve to take the toxins out of your systems. It's amazing how many different things the liver controls. And Linda was shutting down.
And regarding the mental health aspect of it, this organically affects your brain. Your brain is awash with all sorts of drugs and chemicals, but also with ammonia, with toxins that your body just can't process. That affects your mind. The biggest theme, though, that I would really strongly urge everyone to understand is that of loss. Loss is the most significant issue with any kind of chronic illness, which a transplant is. You have loss of roles, you have loss of relationships, your career, your income, your sense of security and safety, your own self-worth, bodily function, sexual function, mental health, loss of freedom, self-control, intimacy. The list just keeps on going on. It is so vitally important to understand that when you're working with somebody who's going through this, and also for you, if you're going through this, to understand it about yourself and cut yourself some slack. A social worker, Mila DeCalis, had said the experience of chronic illness is invariably one of accruing myriad losses, a cascade of losses. Because these losses are unending, they're known as infinite losses. They can affect individuals' quality of life forever, sometimes over and over again in many ways. This kind of describes what you're dealing with when you're going through something like this. It's a grief process because there's been so many losses. And it's this big tangled up ball of confusion and everything. I mean, you got denial, this just says it all. And mental health workers out there, it is your job to be able to help your patient sort this through and start to untangle this and make some sense of it so that they can get a life back. I love this. I love this. This kind of demonstrates when we're recovering from an illness, we're being treated for an illness, kind of, okay, we got the cure, we're going to be everything's going to be fine. That's not the reality. This is the reality of being chronically ill with any kind of chronically ill illness. It's twisty-turny. And then there's the caretaker, this amazing man who saved my life.
Wow. So, yeah, how worse? Give me the worst case scenario. What am I getting into here?
He got 4 kids, and he had to give me part of his liver.
It's all good, right? So, but, the reality is, 7 years ago, I donated one of my kidneys to one I wanted back. So, yep, we ever get divorced. Yeah. I want my half back. Give it back.
The divorce rate for couples going through this experience is as high as 75%.
It's really pretty incredible.
It is brutally, it's brutal on relationships.
It's definitely tough. But
there is hope for couples as we're standing here together.
And for individuals.
And for the individuals. There is the possibility of post-traumatic growth. We like to take that post-traumatic growth and make it into something even more substantial, something that we call post-traumatic transformational growth. You can transform yourself into something new. You have a new life. You've been granted a second chance. Post-traumatic transformational growth is resilience. And there's different gifts you get out of being resilient. You get new possibilities. You get increased strength, more meaningful relationships, a greater appreciation for just about everything out there. And for some people, it's even a spiritual development.
And for you?
And for me?
Yeah.
For me, it's been all of the above.
Yeah.
And I have reinvented myself career-wise. I'm now doing geriatric care management, and I love it.
Yeah. And we've got this message we're bringing out to folks. So 3 keys to survival, folks. 1, advocate. You got to really take charge. If you're the patient, look, this is going to be a long haul. You don't realize how long it is, and you won't realize how long it is. But when you get that diagnosis, get ready because it's going to be pretty intense. And you've got to advocate for yourself, and you've got to have an advocate. So there's layers of impact on you, both in your physicality, your mental, your emotional, your relationship, your finances. And the first thing to do is get yourself, whoever's going to be your caretaker, whoever's going to make decisions when you're down, get that paperwork, healthcare proxy, make sure you have your advocate, get it all taken care of, and get ready to do it. Second,
ask for help. I know this is hard for a lot of us. I know it's very hard for me. But you need help. You need help from everybody out there, from friends, from professionals. Ask your friends and family to help with cooking. They can drop off meals, they can come over and cook. Grocery shopping, cleaning, babysitting.
All the basic things.
Yeah.
I mean, what happened was that, it took me a while because neither one of us wanted to tell anybody, neither one of us wanted to ask anybody for help. We're not those kinds of folks. We usually try to do everything ourselves. But eventually I realized that, I'm so busy just trying to pay attention to doctors and schedules and keeping track of, is Linda's blood pressure, her blood pressure, her temperature, where is she at, what's happening, is she sick, is she fighting something off, that, I had to concentrate so much on that, plus trying to deal with the kids, plus trying to deal with work, plus trying to deal with all the things that finally I had no choice. I asked for people for help, and they were great.
And we had teenagers at that point in time, so
we needed a lot of help. And it was great. I mean, friends, family stepped up, and they really helped in so many ways, and they just took some of the pieces off that let me concentrate. And so ask for help. I know people don't want to do it, but you gotta. You absolutely have to. It's critical.
Now get help from the professionals too. Okay, you were entitled to a second opinion, and sometimes you can get a third and fourth opinion. Do not ask questions. I cannot emphasize that enough. Ask questions. And go to every doctor's appointment with a book, with a list of questions, and then write the answers down right there. Because by the time, if you don't write it down, you're going to forget before you go, and you're going to forget when you leave. I guarantee it.
So one of the things we didn't do, which was really a mistake, is we did not have a financial advisor, and we really should have. If we would have done some things differently, we'd be in a lot different, would have wound up in a lot different place, and strongly urge you to get a hold of somebody who knows what they can do. And
that was one of our mistakes.
That was one of our mistakes, and we learned the hard way. But one of the things we did do, some of the things we did do, is we had a nutritionist, key, absolutely critical. Acupuncturist was also really, really important. Massage, just to keep, especially Linda, but then also I was a ball of just intense stress. So having a massage massage every once in a while, doing some yoga. And then we didn't have a case manager. I kind of did that. But if you don't have an advocate, you really need somebody who's going to be there. So a case manager would be it.
And therapists for everybody, for the individual, for the family, for the couple. Everybody needs it.
That's, no doubt about it. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, one of the first things you realize is that, God, you know, you got all these medications you got to take, right? And you got so many in the morning, so many in the afternoon, so many in the evening. You got to take this. And then with the nutritionists, we had different supplements and vitamins and minerals that we had to take too. And then it was just keeping track. What's Linda's oxygen level like? Is it dropping? What's her temperature like? Is it going up? Is it stable? What's her blood pressure? And it was like constant, just keeping track of everything. So put together a little chart. This is basically what we did. We put together a chart that just let us track everything, keep track of when the medications were supposed to happen, keep track of all the vitals. And it was just really, really critical to keep track of everything that was happening. And when you go into the hospital, right? I don't know how many people have been in the emergency room, right? So you go into the emergency room, what happens? The first thing they ask you
what
is,
medications are you on?
What's the patient's information, right? What's your date of birth? What's your name? What's your date of birth? What's going on with you? What's your diagnosis? What medications are you on? Have you had any hospitalizations for this in the past? Who are your doctors? Who should we be talking to?
I now carry around this medical sheet in my bag wherever I go.
So get it. Do you have a healthcare proxy? Let's see it. Is it filed? And who are the primary contacts if something's going on? Who do we call? What do we do? So just put together a simple piece of paper that's got all that information. That way, when you go in, you're in the midst of this crisis. You don't have to think about it. Oh my God, which medication? Oh, well, who does she see? Who's the doctor? Just have it on a piece of paper. It's all there. You're set. You just carry it with you. You have it with you all the time. You just hand it over, and then at least then you're concentrating on the crisis. You're not dealing with all this extraneous stuff that everyone has to deal with, and that if you just do it ahead of time, you can make your life so much easier and better. And it took a couple of times before we got that, but that was really critical as we got along.
You should keep copies of everything. Okay? You may hear a doctor or a healthcare provider say, well, you can't have a copy, or you shouldn't have a copy. You ask for copies. I got copies of all of my lab results. I have, big boxes full of all of these lab results from all of my experiences. All of your procedures, all of your doctor's visits. Get copies.
So what happens is that when you walk into the emergency room, right, what they're asking is, they're looking at you right now. What's going on? Oh, you got a bleed. Oh, you got a fever. Oh, you got something else going on. What they don't see is the history. They don't see how you were last week or 2 months ago. And it's really up to you to take control, and between you and your advocate, take control of your life. Know it, chart your results so that you can see how you're doing, when you're up, when you're down. Oh, my temperature was up and I had sepsis. Oh, my blood pressure was dropping. I had this. So just you need to know and take control and get your vitals, put it in a chart, and just keep track. Not only get the data, but also keep track it so that you know what's going on day to day and month to month, and you can say to somebody, this is where we've been over the last 3 months. Here, look. It just helps the doctors do a much better job than if they're just taking the snapshot.
Okay, this brings me to one of my favorite subjects to talk to groups about. That's that of organ donation. Is everyone here registered to be a donor, an organ donor? If not, I've got a stack of cards here, and I'm happy to give everybody one. And if you want extra to bring to home, I'll give you plenty of extra. New York State, unfortunately, has the lowest rate of donor registration in the country. And people are always surprised to hear that. Why? They don't know why, but it doesn't matter. We need to get more people registered to be donors. And this is for the donor after you die. However, when you're alive, you can do so much. I mean, there's a possibility of being a kidney donor, a liver donor. There, stem cells for your blood. I mean, you can do that when you're alive.
And when you're gone, look, you can't use it, right? So it's like you're done. You're done with it. That's it. You don't need it anymore. So pass it on, right? And pass it forward. And when you pass it forward, one donor can save 8 lives through your organ donations, and you can heal up to 50 different people from all the different parts that they harvest and share with other folks who really, really need it. So pass it forward.
And I have seen the results of what this looks like with people whose lives have been saved. I cannot tell you how grateful people are.
Yeah, it's incredible. So, traumatic illness survival guide, how to navigate chronic illness and move forward towards post-traumatic transformational growth. Summary, advocate. You and your partner, your case manager, do healthcare proxies, living wills, stay educated about your illness and your treatments, Call for an ambulance. One of the things we did one point was it was easier, we thought, and faster for us to need to just put Linda in the car and drive to the hospital. But when you do that, you're getting into the emergency waiting room. If you're in an ambulance, you're first on the list. They take care of everybody because they have an ambulance. They came in an ambulance. They're clearly in a trauma situation. So even though it may seem faster to get to the hospital, your treatment will be much faster if you go in an ambulance. So when there's any doubt at all and you're in a crisis situation, get that ambulance.
Get help. I can sound like a broken record on this, but get help. Get help from families, from friends, from professionals. Get help.
Get counselors for everybody. And third, keep track. Take that medical summary first off, get it ready so that you're set when you have a crisis. You don't have to be thinking about it with your history and your medications and your doctors and your contacts. Do your medication schedule and visits so that you know exactly what's happened. Keep your medical records and chart your results. And this is Linda.
This is my contact information. Anybody needs to talk to me, I'm more than happy. Here's my phone number. Here's my email. Call me, email me.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.